In this video we will take a look at the Overlord Tornadoes, and in the end I will tell you, should you get this Pokemon or not? Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, and the hype is real. Overlord Tornadoes is here from the event, and there's everybody that has a flying type team. They are going crazy. Everybody wants an Overlord Tornadoes, but is it worth it though? Let's find out. Let's start by taking a look at the passive. So, a lot of people were asking me like, yo, is it worth it to break through the passive of this Pokemon? And basically, like, short answer, yes, it is. Because, so we see the passive, it has some things. I'm not going to read it all, because the breakthrough passive is just much better. What do we have different on the breakthrough passive? Basically, it gives a 50% chance of increasing all of your flying type Pokemon action points. In other words, there's a 50% chance of making your flying type Pokemon move after this Pokemon moves. We will explain this a little bit better in a bit so that you guys understand. But then also gives you like 20% extra restriction damage. Not very useful, to be honest, because flying type Pokemon will not do much restriction damage, but damage reduction by 20%, that's always welcome. Also, it will increase your skill damage by 20%, and restriction damage taken is reduced by 20%. Not sure if this is like super useful, since there's not many Pokemon that do restriction damage against flying types, but it's always welcome. Besides all of that, the passive is still the same. It spells all the debuffs from all allied flying type Pokemon, increasing the attacks, physical and special, for 2 rounds, and in battle increases his own speed by 15%, but that doesn't matter as much. Now, the main thing about this Pokemon is obviously, as a weather buffer, he will move after a flying type Pokemon moves. So technically, in a battle, if your Lugia moves first, for example, you're playing with a flying team with a Lugia as main attacker, this Pokemon will move right after it, just like any other Overlord buffer. And most of the times with the Overlord buffers, what we care about is his main buff. In this case, is Tailwind or the Z Tailwind. A while ago, I was saying that the passive will matter. The 50% chance to increase the action will matter. And I know some of you will say, well, why does it matter if the Z Tailwind actually provides action points? So what this basically means is that if I use a flying type move, you guys can see over here on the order of the attacks, Lugia should be after this. But if I use the Z Tailwind over here, it will increase the action of all my Pokemon, and it will actually make Ho-Oh move. So the question would be, why is the passive necessary if the Z buff is already important? The answer to this was found out on yesterday's stream. So we were testing this flying team on stream, and one of our threats was knowing that White's secret technique would also interrupt the Z buff of Tornadoes. But apparently, because of the golden passive of Tornadoes, Tornadoes would have a chance to make Ho-Oh move, instead of White moving right after Tornadoes. As you could see, sometimes when Tornadoes would use a Z buff, Ho-Oh would not move. It's not because of the Zoroark on the enemy team. But then, sometimes, actually, Ho-Oh would move right after the Tornadoes buff. Using buff or not does not matter. What matters was the passive of Overlord Tornadoes, having that 50% chance of increasing your Ho-Oh action. This would make sure that your Ho-Oh could make your flying team secure. There was even a joke on the stream saying that the stream was not about Tornadoes anymore, it was about Ho-Oh instead. This is because Ho-Oh is a great Pokemon to have in a flying team, and the problem is that the more power you have on your main attacker, let's imagine it's a Lugia, it's a Resonance Yveltal, it's a Dark Lugia, whatever your flying type Pokemon attacker is, the more attack and speed you have on your Pokemon, the slower your supports should be. So Ho-Oh, the more power you get, it seems that Ho-Oh will just be slower and slower compared to your main attacker. Having this Overlord Tornadoes over here, now it changes everything so that Ho-Oh can actually move and use his amazing buffs during the battle. When it comes to flying type attackers, there's basically just one that people think about, which is the Resonance Lugia. Also thinking about Resonance Yveltal, it feels like a very good attacker as well, and if you are still one of those people that don't even have an Overlord Lugia, that have an Overlord Thunderous, or even if you're the kind of guy that is playing either Overlord Rayquaza or Dark Lugia, I believe this flying Pokemon, the Overlord Tornadoes, is a great addition to your team. Now, is it worth it to get an Overlord Tornadoes for your flying team? Or, if you are playing for example Eons, should you stay with Eons? Taking a quick look at the Tornadus skills, see what he provides. So imagine that you are still on the lower power sides, and this Pokemon will also be able to move multiple times in a single battle. Keeping in mind that his other skills will also do a Reaper damage of 20% of the max HP to the enemies if they cannot be stunned. Otherwise, it will stun the enemy Pokemon for 1 round, so it can be quite useful. But this Pokemon will be here mostly for the buff. The buff, besides increasing 100% skill power and 50% defenses, also increases your dodge by 30%, which is freaking awesome. And not just that, it will also increase 30% skill damage, crit damage, and make all of your flying type Pokemon immune to control. My opinion is that if you move first in a battle, a team like this will probably be better for you, and even if you don't have the Overlord Ho-Ho itself, you can replace for a Mesprit, for example, using Ultimate with Resonance Lugia, or even if you are a person using just Overlord Lugia, Resonance Yveltal, things like that, they also benefit a lot from using Ultimate, so using Mesprit as a third member is not bad at all. But keeping in mind that flying team is usually only better if you are playing manually. If you are playing on auto, a Lugia with an Eon team is usually more effective. Not just that, if you are also slower usually than your enemy or than the players that you usually play against, I would consider that Lugia with Eons would offer you a better protection. Would you guys like to see some action or some opinions of flying teams with Overlord Tornadoes? Let me know in the comments and let me know what teams would you guys like to see. Thanks again Happy P for letting me record and stream on his account. If you guys check the Pokeland Legends Club, there will be a page with information about this Pokemon Overlord Tornadoes, and hopefully very soon also pages about teams. Thank you again for watching, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next video.
Press start.